Ty Montgomery comes through in a clutch, and Davante Adams shines as the Packers take care of the Bears. Will the new five-spread offense be enough to match the high-flying act of the Falcons? We'll find out next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys has been to the birthplace of Curly Lambeau, and the other guy, well, he has too. And now it's time to go, Pack, go, with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinrichs.
Welcome back, friends. It's the Packers Fan Podcast. It's the show by and for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. We are back, and we want to hear from you. Give us a call on the feedback hotline, area code 920-3PACK-GO. That's 920-3PACK-GO. Or simply visit PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback and be part of the show. This is episode 116 of your Packers Fan Podcast, recorded October 26th, 2016. We've got all the intel and analysis from this episode at PackersFanPodcast.com/116.
On this episode, you can probably guess that we're going to talk about what we didn't like and liked and loved about our victory over the Bears last week. We'll also talk about some more fun that happened as we played running back roulette. And will 10 days have been enough to heal up before the 10-week push in front of us as we make the run for the playoffs?
Playoffs. I love it. I love it. I'm getting giddy already. And later on in the show, I will be sharing my favorite Packers dope sheet tidbits for the game in Atlanta. Troy will have his keys to defeating the high-power offense of the Falcons. And for fun, we'll have our wild guesses of the final score, which I'm sure we'll both be very wrong about again.
I don't think we've gotten one right all year.
Well, during this 10-week period coming up to the playoffs, I think that's when it's going to happen, Troy.
Okay.
I really do. Me, I'm at Wayne Henderson on Twitter, your voice acting, podcasting part owner of the Packers, who is quite thankful that all of Troy's daily church visits and prayers paid off and we avoided losing to the Bears.
Thank you. And thank you upstairs. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. I've recovered from my ankle, groin, knee, and that concussion from last week. Oh, I recovered from Color Rush too.
Thank goodness I'm about done with all of those things. I'm glad you're feeling better. Want to remind you the Packers Fan Podcast is available on demand and on the go with our free Packers Fan Podcast app for iOS and Android. It's presented by theticketking.com. You know how at Lambeau Field, every seat in the stadium is sold to a season ticket holder, and it's been sold out since like the mid-'60s. But remember, you're not really sold out until the king is sold out. Get Packers tickets at the best prices by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for all the details.
All right, so we played the Bears, and we won, thankfully. Woo.
Disaster averted.
Collective sigh of relief from Packer Nation. Davante Adams. Now, we've given Davante one hell of a bunch of crap on this podcast, especially through the course of last year when he's supposed to be the high-flying replacement receiver for Jordy, for Ty, all the people that were injured. Finally, we see Davante Adams come into his own this season. 13 of 16. That's right. He only missed 3 balls this week for 132 yards and 2 tutties. Where the hell was that last season is what I want to know.
There was just something strange going on last season, but huge props to Davante. He was a beast. Also, huge props to Ty Montgomery, Troy. 126 yards of total offense, but more important, 60 of those on the ground. He had 9 rushes, and that is a 6.6 yards per carry stat line. And you know who that beats, Troy?
Don Jackson.
Him, as well as Eddie Lacy. And if you do some beating Eddie Lacy
in yards per carry, that's pretty impressive.
So far, so good. If we can keep this up, man, the Davante and Ty show will take us all the way to the promised land of the Super Bowl.
I actually did some more digging on one Ty Montgomery. You remember when we went to that game against the Chiefs?
It was beautiful.
And Ty was out there. He was playing. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Ty Montgomery actually played in all of 6 games last year. Do you know what the Packers record was during those 6 games that he played?
No, I would have to look it up. But let's say you have it close at hand.
I'm going to tell you that it was 6-0. We were undefeated when Ty Montgomery was playing in the games in 2015. Ty Montgomery goes down with the injury. We go to play Denver and get our butts whooped, and the slump began. Now, this season, Ty Montgomery has really only been a factor in 2 contests, the Dallas contest and the Bear contest. And I'm telling you right now, Ty Montgomery is the difference maker for this offense.
I believe you. And I know that Don Lejeune and the rest of the Texas Packers only fans are big on Ty Montgomery, but we need people to step up, and the fact that it's Ty and Devontae and even Randall Cobb, we're going to take all the help we can get, and Ty could really keep defenses on their toes.
And people are going to be like, oh, but Troy, they lost to Dallas. I'm going to tell you right now, Ty Montgomery had 10 catches on 98 yards in that loss to Dallas. It was not Ty's fault that we lost that game. It was a turnover differential that lost that game, especially the one we coughed up right inside the red zone. So, yeah, Ty Montgomery, key to the offense. And when Ty is working as well as he is, you know who else is working?
Who?
Randall Cobb, man. 2 solid games in a row now, both against the Giants and the Bears. 116 all-purpose yards from Randall Cobb and a tutty. Cannot complain about these 3 top guys.
At the beginning of the season, I could not have predicted that these would be the big 3, but sometimes you just never know how the season's going to go. But I'm thankful. And mentioning Ty and how he was so big in the Dallas game, could you imagine if Ty Montgomery did not play well in that Dallas game, how much worse that loss would have been?
Ooh, don't even want to think about it. Happy thoughts.
Oh, that's right. We're back to happy thoughts. Go, Pack, go.
Speaking of happy thoughts, I know we gave this guy a lot of crap last week, as did much of the media around Wisconsin and pretty much all over the country. But Aaron Rodgers, he had a career best 39 completions last week. That's pretty impressive. He threw the ball a hell of a lot.
And that's not only amazing, but I also remember quite a few running plays, like you talked about with Ty Montgomery and them. So there was a lot of Packers offense. Long story short, I think the time of possession that you love to see the stats on was heavily in the Packers' favor.
Now, we have to make sure we bring everybody back down to reality. We were playing the Bears. So I don't know if we're all the way back just yet, because remember, the start of that game, things weren't looking so good. I mean, there was the low point of that game where it was like, what was it, 6-3-3, and then it was like 6-3, and we're like, what the hell's going on out there again? I was worried because the first half looked like a second half. And I'm like, we don't play second halves very well, so this is going to be a long night. And then eventually we kicked it into gear, figured it out, and lo and behold, we did come out the victor on top. So this week is going to be the big contest. But, dude, what the heck was up with the special teams units? Mason Crosby missed an extra point and got one blocked? That's unlikely.
Yeah, that guy is money, and we say that every week. He just had an off week. Nothing to get worried about. He still made plenty of points for us during the night, but like you said, the slow start, I don't know why we just can't come out firing. We better do it in Atlanta or we're going to be in for a long night.
Yeah, I feel the Atlanta game is going to be very similar to the Arizona Cardinals games of 2009. Everybody remember those where it was like 50-50, like 2 weeks in a row? I can't handle that game. Those 2 Cardinals games in 2009 damn near killed me. I got news for you, Wayne.
What's that?
The Atlanta game is going to be even tougher. Because for those people that were like, oh, it's just a short week, that's why Eddie's not playing. Unfortunately, we have some really devastating injury news this week.
Yeah, it seemed like about half the team was placed on IR. I mean, James Starks on IR somewhere around the time of the game. And then Eddie Lacy is now on IR. And even more recently than that, Jared Abbrederis on IR.
And IR means no coming backy.
Probably not. I think there's a chance that one of the 3 could come back, whoever's most ready.
Okay.
But that's still at least a couple months down the line, so we might as well write him off for now.
Yeah, and it's a real bummer, right, for Eddie Lacy. This is his contract year. So he was going great, had the chance to shine, show that he could drop the weight and put weight gate behind him.
And be a beast.
Yeah, so hopefully he's done enough in the games that he did play to earn his spot to get a contract, get that all taken care of, because I can tell you, after being up at that game, there was a lot of love, even though we see that I love Eddie Lacy, I love Lacy meme that goes around all the time. There's a ton of love for Eddie up there at Lambeau Field. So hopefully things go well, surgery and all. We'll be cheering for you, Eddie. Eddie.
Eddie.
Eddie.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
he's going to do his best, just like he proved last offseason that when he puts his mind to it and he does his best, he's going to prove everybody wrong.
The good news coming out of that news, though, is that certain fantasy football leagues, I have not confirmed with Yahoo yet, but certain fantasy football leagues have now listed Ty Montgomery as a playable running back. So if you needed a flex or a running back, Ty Montgomery is your choice to be picking up here on the waiver wires this week.
And would that be instead of wide receiver?
I think it might be an RB/WR combo, so you could play in either place.
Oh, okay. Because as we've talked in the past, I don't do fantasy football because I'm terrible at it.
According to McCarthy, on Tuesday, Demarius Randall also had surgery, so he will definitely be out this week, which puts all of the pressure on Quinton Rollins to get back healthy in the game, because with Shields and Demarius both gone, Rollins is like really the entire secondary
Oh boy.
against Julio Jones and the Falcons.
Oh boy.
So if Rollins can't go, I don't know what our secondary is going to look like, but those boys need to step up and step up fast.
We may need to put Jordy Nelson in as a safety.
Possibly. Maybe even Randall. Cobb, that is.
Everybody's playing both sides of the ball this week.
Did it in high school. Why not do it in the pros?
Exactly.
Rollins did say he was doing a little bit better and said that it was only Tuesday, so we'll see how the week goes. In other news, poor Don Jackson, when he hurt his hand in that game against the Bears in his NFL debut, his hand is literally to the point where like you couldn't even touch his hand. It was in that much pain, so swollen and stuff. But he said that he does have some mobility back in the hand now, and it should be progressing nicely. But I would not expect to see Don Jackson out there carrying the rock at all. So it looks like it's going to fall back onto one Ripkowski, Montgomery. It'll be interesting to see if Nile Davis gets into the action this week.
I saw a headline, I forget where it was, or just earlier today, that they think Nile Davis is ready to go. I don't know if that means he's memorized and really worked out the playbook, but I expect to see a heavy dose of Nile Davis mixed into the game plan on Sunday. And I'm just thankful the games for a large part of the rest of the season, we're going to see some Sunday games.
Yes. That Thursday crap really throws off my week.
And I know we're not big fans of it, so we can understand why a lot of the players hate it. Ugh.
Hey, I only like it if we win on a Thursday. And we didn't win the last time we played the Bears on a Thursday, so this is definitely much better.
Woo!
Jared Abadaris, Chris Banjo, Eddie Lacy, Sam Shields, Johnny the Rocket Crockett, David Greenidge, all on injury reserved list. That's a lot of people. I think we need to get a new team doctor.
I cannot even imagine what could have caused so many just flukes and things just didn't work out. But that is quite a crew. But, next man up, and, we're 4-2, not too shabby. And the Vikings, we're going to talk about, they're not looking so fantastic as when they were undefeated and all their fans were already talking Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, of all people to lose to, Philadelphia. Whew.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Joe McCready.
Yeah, Joe McCready, John Buchanan, both huge Eagles fans, and they were kind enough to help make sure that their Eagles helped us out by beating the Vikings, so that was good to see. Something else that's good to see is when we get a Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter, you can be one. You can join the team and help us out by growing the show, make even more great content every week. You can even get rewards as well. Check out all the different levels by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/support. There's even a chance, like we've talked about before, you can go to a game at Lambeau Field during the 2017 season with Sir Troy Heinrichs, right?
Absolutely. I'd love to have you come along.
And you get quite a view because you posted that shot from the seats a couple weeks ago. It is looking good. Again, PackersFanPodcast.com/support for all the details. With your support, we'll be able to do more fun things for you, like live post-game calling shows and some other things that we have our creative minds spinning with.
All right. Well, let's get into the weekly Twitter poll, Wayne. I'm not convinced. Hopefully optimistic, but not convinced. You said, how convinced are you that the Packers have found their groove again? And you'd be surprised. Packers fans used to be all like, yeah, man, we're back. Whoa. And it doesn't seem like Packers fan nation is really to jump back on the bandwagon yet.
Not just yet. And I was surprised by these results. Only 6% of the many people that voted said the Pack are totally back. 31% said, I'll be convinced if we beat Atlanta. So that's looking pretty good. Surprised mostly by the fact that 52% said, I'm still not fully convinced either way. And 11% outright said, no.
Wow, 63% on the negative side. I'm flabbergasted.
I am as well, Troy. And one thing is, after the Atlanta game, the proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, then it'll be 100% again. Woohoo! Packers are back.
That's what I'm hoping for.
It will be a good test because with the Falcons and their offense and high-flying circus acts and everything that they do between Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, I tell you, if a depleted secondary can hold off that passing attack and the offense can click, then we have something made of miracles on the Packers' defensive side of the ball.
I am convinced. One of those 6%ers, that was me. I think we are back. Aaron Rodgers got the wake-up call. He got the message, and he's going to be much, much better for the rest of the season. And a bunch of our listeners commented on Twitter with varying degrees of confidence.
Are you sure you didn't vote 6 times by yourself?
No, I kept it honest and only voted once. Our buddy Hank Davis says the Packers took care of business this week. They seemed like they were tired of all of those interviews, where everybody's asking what the heck's wrong and all that jazz.
What the hell's going on out there?
Of course, it was the Bears. So, like you said, we will see. Cameron Black, I think Montgomery offers us something that Lacey doesn't. A fast pass catching threat in the backfield. At Ty Montgomery, too, just became the most important player on the Pack.
I do believe so, since we were 6-0 when he was on the field last year. Ty Montgomery is a key to this offense, and I can't wait to see what packages they set up for him against the Falcons, because I think being able to mix it up, and even if you have to abandon the run game altogether and go to these short passes with the 5 wideout spread, I think that's very interesting when you have the tight ends and Ty Montgomery, the screen plays you can do with the size of our tight ends and including Ty Montgomery. The sheer size should be able to, if nothing else, set up some really great screenplays for Randall Cobb to chew up some yardage.
It is going to be very exciting to watch. I think on their indoor field, in the dome, it's always like a fast track. And, the weather, not a concern, so it's going to be great to watch. Dawn, number 1 Packers fan in Texas, agrees with Cameron. Great game. So proud of our Ty Montgomery, as well as Devontae Adams and Aaron Ripkowski. What a game. And Miguel Ramirez in Arizona agrees as well. I am loving Ty. He is a beast.
That he is for sure. And in regards to my question about whether or not AR-12 is back, Sam Ridge said he never left. He just finally got protection tonight.
And what's interesting, though, Sam...
What's interesting is that could be taken more than one way, Sam.
What was interesting to me was not that it could be taken different ways, but that even in the games that we lost, Aaron Rodgers had almost all day. So I don't know if the protection is what went into it. I think it was Aaron's scheme or how he was focused or something going on.
We'll know if Olivia's got a baby bump or not.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
In other news, the Lions, for some reason, they are winning ugly, but winning. Right now, Matthew Stafford looks like he could be the NFL MVP.
What?
Yes. Yes, I said that out loud. Matthew Stafford is playing amazing football.
Wow. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if the rest of the Lions are playing that well, but Matthew Stafford sure is. He's carrying that team right now. And they are only a half game behind us.
Yes, you can't dispute the fact that they are 4-3. I don't know how they snuck up that close to us. That was kind of surprising. So we definitely have to keep an eye on the Lions. The Vikings, now 5-1. Chinks are in their armor, and Sam Bradford got beat up last week. They play the Bears on Halloween. And speaking of the Bears, they're 1-6. And my big question is, will the Bears get motivated enough by the Cubs being in the World Series that they can beat the Vikings for us on Halloween?
That's a scary proposition, Wayne.
Very, very frightening, scary. Jay Cutler's supposed to be back.
Like I said, it's a scary proposition, Wayne.
Well, we'll see. I pick crazy scores in the Packers games all the time on this podcast. I think the Bears are going to win that game.
Any division rivalry game is up for grabs on any given Sunday, regardless of how bad one team is over the other. So if the Bears offense can destroy the Viking defense, that will be a Christmas present, or in this case, a Halloween present that I would be lucky to have inside my trick-or-treat pail.
I'll be watching Monday Night Football and hoping that the doorbell doesn't ring too many times.
The Bears get on Monday Night Football. That's what I'm still trying to figure out. That's the trick in this situation.
Maybe they were one of the few that volunteered, oh, yeah, we'll play on Halloween. What the heck? We get to be on TV.
All right. So Packers, week 8, game number 7. We're in Atlanta. Weather's not a factor, even though for sometimes when you're watching The Walking Dead, it sure is. But either way, keys to the game. Oh my gosh. It goes without saying that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are the most deadly combo in the NFL. So we keep those two guys at bay. That is number one, key number one for this game, especially with the depleted secondary, as I mentioned. It'll be a true test to see if we are the team that can rise up to the challenge. The Magnificent Seven needs to amp up the pass rush and get to Ryan early. Look for Blake Martinez to have a fantastic game in this contest. But, we cannot forget about Devontae Freeman because Tevin Coleman might be out of this game. When the Saints shut down Jones, Freeman and Coleman together combined for 296 total yards and 4 touchdowns against the Saints. So once again, the front 7 are really going to be the key to this game and have a lot of their work cut out for them, because I think it's those front 7 that are going to carry us to a W if we're able to pull it off this week.
I'm going to be looking for that because I'm not as familiar with the Falcons as I used to be when they were, rolling up tons of points and they went to the Super Bowl and all that. But of course, Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. But these other guys, I'm glad you're bringing these up because these are some folks to keep an eye on.
All right. So thirdly, this is a great stat for us. Atlanta has the second worst pass defense in the league, giving up an average of 319 yards per game.
Well, that's too bad.
I know. And we just happen to have a gunslinger who can actually sling the rock all over the place, especially on those 4 or 5 yard dink and dunks that get major yardage. I think this is going to be working to our favor 100%. Now, the fourth stat, though, the fourth key is that the O-line is a challenge this week because Vic Beasley is the league's 4th best pass rusher, 6.5 sacks on the season already. And so our hope is that the O-line can change his name to Vic Measley and shut him out with a nice goose egg on that sack department.
Oh, my goodness, Troy. Vic Measley.
I'm just all full of it today.
Oh, my goodness. I love it. And I don't have it on hand, but were a lot of those sacks that he made against, Panthers, Cam Newton?
I'm sure they probably were all in that same game.
Because, man, that guy's been banged around a lot this season. I don't think we're going to see the Panthers back in the Super Bowl, and maybe not the Broncos either.
I could agree with that 100%. Finally, key number 5, it's the battle of the Matthews. Clay versus Jake. This will be a fun matchup to watch. Jake is actually playing pretty decent football this season, and where Clay has not made the same kind of impact that Nick Perry or Mike Daniels have on the Green Bay defense, I think because of the family rivalry, I think Clay's going to go off and get at least 2 sacks in this game.
Ooh, I'd love to see that. And Clay, he loves the spotlight. He loves the television commercials. I'm surprised that they don't make a special Matthews promo or commercial in honor of this game.
Oh, that would be fantastic to see.
Maybe on one of the pregame shows, we better keep our eyes peeled for that. Interesting indeed, the Matthews battle. I hope you're right that it does make Clay want to really show up the family name and go big time.
Yeah, so recapping those, shut down Julio, shut down Freeman, expose the weak pass defense, maintain coverage on Vic Beasley, a.k.a. hashtag Vic Measley, through the course of the pass rush, and look out for Clay to have a sack-filled day.
That's a great set of keys to the game, Troy. Thanks for putting those together. And if the Packers win, and when they win, we can look back and see that they achieved at least 4 of those 5, if not all. Now, of course, the Green Bay Packers put out their official dope sheet every week. It's a beautiful document. You probably want to print it out and keep it handy during the game. But here's some of the tidbits We'll have a link to the full thing at PackersFanPodcast.com/116. Some things that jumped out at me was basically the start where it says the 4-2 Packers will play at the Georgia Dome to play the 4-3 Falcons in the first road game in 6 weeks. Man, it was great to be home for that long stretch, Troy.
It sure was. You know what's even better? To be going back home after the Falcons game, because I'm going to be there.
I had a feeling when I saw that Colts game was a Milwaukee game. Troy Heinrichs in the stands.
Woo-woo!
Be looking for you yet again.
And I remember there's a potential that I could snag maybe Bears-Packers tickets in December.
Really?
At Soldier Field. Yes. I'm trying to decide. I'm playing with it in my head a little bit because it's Soldier Field in December and I have a fireplace and a nice TV.
Inside.
I'm not a true football fan, right? Tough it out. Go out there, sit down and get the freaking lake wind blowing on your face all day.
Oh.
But yeah, there's a potential.
All right. You're going to have to keep us posted, Troy. My hopes of the Rams hosting the Packers in a playoff game at the Coliseum so I could just drive down the street and go. That you've seen how the Rams have been doing lately. Those hopes are dwindling for this season.
That's why these tickets are available, because nobody wants to watch the Bears, especially in December.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Back to the dope sheet. Dating back to 2006, the Packers rank number 3 in the NFL with a road winning average of .561, Troy.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I had no idea we were that high on the list, and that bodes well for us. And including the postseason, Green Bay has won 4 consecutive games against the Falcons, including 2 in Atlanta. So keep that in mind as well.
That's something we should track down. Because remember how Favre always had an issue inside of closed spaces when he was playing? I want to see what Rodgers' indoor record is. Someone needs to track that down for us and let us know. At Packers Fan Pod on Twitter. We'd love to know what his dome record is since 2008.
Yes, please send it to us at Packers Fan Pod. And however, keep your heart medication handy, Troy, because 8 of the last 9 regular season matchups between Green Bay and Atlanta have been decided by 8 points or less.
I have that same prediction in my scores. My heart medication is on order at Walgreens.
Keep it handy. And notable connections, you touched on that earlier. Packers linebacker Clay Matthews is the elder and more experienced cousin of Falcons tackle Jake Matthews. And, of course, do yourself a favor. Read through the entire official Packers Fan Dope Sheet for the Packers at Falcons game. We'll link to it at PackersFanPodcast.com/116.
All right. Last week, I said the Packers scored more points than Wayne said, so that means I'm the winner.
There's always a way where you're the winner, huh?
I could say you were the winner because you actually predicted the Bears score correctly. But I'm going to go first anyway.
Because I know you've got something special, so I'm deferring to you. All
right. Do you remember when the Packers at the beginning of the season were favored to win every game this season? And Wayne was like, yes, 16-0. It's finally going to happen. I can stop being weird on the podcast and actually say, look, I was right.
Yes, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, not anymore. This week, the Falcons are giving anywhere from 2.5 to 3 points to the Packers. So I'm going to pick the Packers to win in the gambling sense.
Oh.
Yes, you're hearing it here first, people.
No.
The secondary is bleak, man. It is bleak. And I can't see us overcoming a shootout with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones with a weak secondary. So I am calling for Falcons 28, Packers 27.
Okay, now just in case somebody passed out while listening to this, what's your score prediction for this Sunday's game?
It was Falcons 28, Packers 27. They will cover the spread and win your money pool, but they will not win the game.
Oh, boy.
And anybody else playing at home, that is the over at 55 points.
And you on Twitter are at Troy Heinrichs, if people would like to send their comments to there, as well as at Packers Fan Pod. I'm a bit stunned. I do think it's going to be a close game, pretty much as close as the line predictions. I think the Falcons are going to get 24. The Packers, much like you, Troy, I predict they're going to get 27, which means the Packers will have 3 more points than the Falcons when time expires and win this game in Atlanta, keeping the streak alive, baby.
So that would be the under, because I think that was 51.5, I think is where the over-under landed last time I checked.
As long as we win the game.
It's going to be a tough one this week.
Oh, I'm not denying that it's going to be a tough game.
Look, all I want to know is that on Sunday when I sit down to watch this football game, it's 3 hours of entertainment and not 3 hours of waste my time. Because the Dallas game was 3 hours of waste my time.
I would agree, because we watched that at my nephew's house. He's a Cowboys fan in spite of the fact that his whole family from back east are Packers fans. So he's indoctrinated his wife and daughter and mother-in-law into being Cowboys fans. But we had just as many Packers fans. But boy, did we take a lot of smack talking our way during that game.
If you play quality football, 4 quarters of quality football, and you lose, it's okay. I am okay with that. When you play 1 quarter of quality football and 3 quarters of turn the ball over every 5 minutes, yeah, that's not okay. So
exactly.
If we lose, I'm okay losing 27-28, because that means we played a quality game.
Because was it the Giants game that you were at in the first quarter was almost bliss, and then the wheels fell off?
Yeah, and it was cold, man. Metal bleachers, cold in October. It was like 75 degrees at the Dallas game. How did I not get that game? You know, maybe I was happy that I got the cold game, because at least the Giants got beat by the Packers. But yeah, the 3 quarters sitting there was a long 3 quarters for a night game, because it just wasn't exciting. I want to sit down for 3 hours and be entertained. I want to be excited. I want to have 42-0 and then make it to the bar by the 2-minute warning.
Show business. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. So I'm picking the loss. You're picking the win. That means if the Packers win, Wayne, you get to go first next week.
Finally, I'm going to milk it for all I can.
Well, just a reminder, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, and now we probably never will, because I picked a loss. But if you can help make that happen, just send us a note at media@PackersFanPodcast.com. And don't forget to be one of the Packers Fan Podcast faithful by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/support. You can actually help me predict games correctly by providing me the proper stats in order to know what the hell I'm talking about.
And you can listen to all of our score predictions and other shenanigans on the go with our free Packers Fan Podcast app for iOS and Android, presented again by theticketking.com. Don't get sold out of your next Packers game. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for the details on that. And again, follow us on Twitter @PackersFanPod. At least one of us tries to be live tweeting during the game whenever possible. Sometimes both of us, and then it goes crazy. Also follow me on Twitter. I'm @Wayne Henderson.
And me, I'm @Troy Heinrichs. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well. Just visit the Facebook page over at PackersFanPodcast.com. You guessed it, /Facebook to join the community.
And remember, PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to get your thoughts in for the next episode of the podcast, and keep the conversations going online. Like you said, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those places. We'll be back very soon to be talking about another Packers victory and more Packers talk. But until then, thanks for listening to this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast.
Remember to keep that phone number handy, 920-3PACK-GO. That's 920-3PACK-GO. Call in your thoughts after the game. Be sure to subscribe in iTunes. Send us a review if you're enjoying the show. We got to see who's going to make this for the birds this weekend. That's right. Cheer on Green Bay. Help Wayne predict the score next week. Let's hear you now with a Go Pack Go.